My wife forced me to sleep on the couch until I apologized. A week later, I caught her on our hidden camera having slept with my own brother in our bed, so I changed the locks, packed her bags, and let her be pregnant on the street. I want to start with the couch. Because the couch is where this story actually begins. Not with the camera footage. Not with the locks. Not with my brother's car in the driveway at 2 p.m. on a Tuesday when I was supposed to be in a meeting. The couch. 7 nights on a couch in my own house because my wife decided I had done something wrong and the appropriate consequence was exile from our bedroom until I apologized for it. The thing I had done wrong was forget to confirm a dinner reservation. She had asked me to confirm the reservation for her friend's birthday dinner. I forgot. The restaurant gave the table away. They had to eat at a different place. The food was fine. The service was fine. Her friend had a good birthday. But I had forgotten to confirm and so I slept on the couch. Night 1 I thought it would pass by morning. Night 2 I thought if I apologized quickly it would be over. I did apologize. I said I was sorry for forgetting. She said it wasn't a real apology because I didn't understand what I had actually done wrong. I said I forgot to confirm a reservation. She said I had shown her she wasn't a priority. I said that wasn't my intention. She said intentions don't matter. Actions do. Night 3 I stopped asking when I could come back to bed. Night 4 I started thinking clearly. My name is Callum Briggs. I'm 36. I'm a project manager for a logistics company. I manage supply chains for 3 regional distribution centers. I'm good at tracking things. Good at documentation. Good at understanding systems and finding the points where they fail. It is relevant that I am good at these things. It becomes very relevant later. My wife is Dara Briggs. Was 33. She works in HR. Which I've thought about a lot since everything happened. The irony of an HR professional and her approach to conflict resolution in her own home. The couch. The you don't understand what you did wrong. The apology that wasn't good enough. 6 years of marriage managed like a performance review I kept failing. My brother is Soren Briggs. 30. He does something with music production. Mostly he talks about music production. His actual income from music production in the last calendar year was $14,000. I know this because I found his tax return in our shared printer's document history 6 months before any of this happened. He'd printed it at our house because his printer was broken. Soren's printer was always broken. Soren's everything was always needing something. He'd borrowed $7,200 from me over 3 years. Logged in a note on my phone with dates and amounts. Not because I intended to collect. Because I track things. It's what I do. The hidden camera. I need to explain the camera because people assume I installed it to catch her. I didn't. I installed it 14 months before any of this happened because we'd had a break-in on our street. 2 houses over. Someone had come through a back window in broad daylight and taken a laptop and some jewelry. I bought a system. 3 cameras. Front door. Back door. Primary bedroom. The bedroom camera was aimed at the window, not the bed. Motion activated. Uploaded to cloud storage automatically. I set it up and forgot about it the way you forget about insurance. You hope you never need it. You don't think about it daily. Dara knew about the cameras. I had told her when I installed them. She had said, good idea. And then she had, apparently, also forgotten about it. I was on night 5 of the couch when I remembered the camera existed. Not because I suspected anything. Not because of Soren. At that point I had no reason to suspect Soren specifically. I was lying on the couch at 11:30 p.m. on a Thursday night thinking about the logistics of my own situation the way I think about logistics professionally. I was thinking about what I had, what I could document, whether 6 years of marriage could be accurately represented as a pattern or just a series of incidents. The reservation. The couch. The apology that was never quite right. The sense that I was always one failure away from another exile. I opened the cloud storage app. Not to look for anything specific. To look at recent motion events. To see what the house looked like while I was lying on the couch. The camera covered the window. But it also covered the corner of the room. And on Tuesday afternoon at 2:14 p.m. there had been a motion event. I watched it on my phone in the dark on the couch in my own living room. I watched for 4 minutes. Then I put the phone face down on the coffee table and looked at the ceiling for a while. I wasn't angry. I want to be specific about this because it surprises people when I say it. I was not angry. I was the way I get when I find a critical failure point in a supply chain. Focused. Clarifying. Like everything that had been confusing became suddenly very simple. Soren's car had been in the driveway. I had seen it when I came home that evening and Dara had said he'd stopped by to drop off some equipment he'd been storing in our garage. He wasn't there when I got home. Just his visit, she said. Just dropping something off. He had dropped something off, technically. I put the phone back face up. I watched the rest of the motion event. Then I went back through cloud storage. Motion events from the bedroom. Over the past 4 months. There were 11 events during daytime hours on weekdays. I watched all 11. I watched all 11 on my phone on the couch in my own living room, and when I was done I plugged the phone in to charge, lay down, and slept for 6 hours. Solid sleep. Better than I'd slept in 5 nights. Because the confusion was gone. The question of whether this was salvageable, whether I was the problem, whether another apology would fix whatever I kept failing to understand, gone. There was nothing to salvage. There was only what came next. I called my attorney at 8 a.m. Friday morning. Her name is Adrienne Cole. I've used her for contract work twice before. She does family law as well. I said, Adrienne, I need to file for divorce. I have video documentation of infidelity. I also need to understand my options regarding the marital home. She said, walk me through the property situation. I said, the house is in my name. I own it before the marriage. Dara was added to the deed 2 years into the marriage. I paid the full down payment. I have paid 100% of the mortgage since purchase. She said, how was she added to the deed? I said, standard edition. My previous attorney drafted it. I have the documents. She said, did those documents contain any conditional language? I said, I'd have to pull them. I'll have them to you by this afternoon. The documents were in a folder in my home office filing cabinet. Organized by year and category because that's how I organize things. I found them in 4 minutes. I scanned them and sent them to Adrienne at 11:23 a.m. She called back at 1:47 p.m. She said, Callum, the addition to the deed contains standard language from your previous attorney. There's a clause, it's common in documents drafted by this particular firm, I recognize the language, that specifies the added party's interest is contingent on the marriage remaining intact and free from documented misconduct. I said, meaning? She said, meaning if you can document marital misconduct, her interest in the property is voidable. You'd file a petition. With the video evidence you've described, it would likely be granted. She paused. How many events are we talking about? I said, 11 documented motion events. Over 4 months. She was quiet for a moment. Then she said, send me the footage. I sent her 4 of the 11. She called back in 22 minutes. She said, file everything. I'm starting the paperwork now. I said, how long until I can change the locks? She said, once the petition is filed and the court grants exclusive occupancy, based on what I'm looking at, 48 to 72 hours. Possibly faster given the documentation. I said, I want to do this while she doesn't know it's coming. Adrienne said, that means don't tip her off. Go home tonight. Act normal. Can you do that? I said, I've been sleeping on the couch for 5 nights for forgetting to confirm a dinner reservation. I can act normal. She said, fair point. I went home Friday evening. Dara was making dinner. She said, how was your day? I said, fine. Long. She said, are you ready to have a real conversation about what happened? I said, not tonight. I'm tired. She said, Callum, we can't just keep avoiding it. I said, I know. Soon. Soon. I slept on the couch Friday night. I slept on the couch Saturday night. I was the most compliant couch sleeping husband in the history of domestic disputes because I was not fighting the couch anymore. The couch was fine. The couch was temporary. Everything was temporary. Sunday morning I got up early. Dara was still asleep. I went through the house systematically. I am a project manager. I manage systems. I assessed what was mine and what was shared and what would need to be separated. Her jewelry, her clothing, her personal documents, I identified where everything was stored. Her laptop. Her books. The photographs she'd printed and framed, mostly of her family and friends with me appearing occasionally in the background. Sunday afternoon Soren texted me. Hey man, haven't talked in a while. Wanna grab lunch this week? Normal text. The kind he sent every few months when he needed something or wanted to pretend things were normal. I said, sure, let me check my schedule. I did not check my schedule. I documented the timestamp of the text in my phone notes. Monday morning Adrienne called at 8:47 a.m. She said, the petition is filed. I've requested expedited review given the documentation. I'm expecting a response by end of day. The response came at 3:15 p.m. Exclusive occupancy granted to Callum Briggs. Dara Briggs to be notified and required to vacate within 24 hours. Service to be completed by County Sheriff. I left work at 4 p.m. I went to a hardware store. I bought new locks. 3 of them. Front door, back door, side entry. I am a project manager. I estimated the installation time at 47 minutes. It took 44. I packed Dara's things while the new locks dried. I am systematic. I packed her clothing first. 4 bags, organized by category. Then her personal documents. I left copies of shared documents and took only what was clearly hers. Her medications. Her personal electronics. Her toiletries. The framed photographs. I stacked everything in the living room near the front door. I thought about leaving a note. I decided against it. The sheriff's service would explain the situation clearly enough. Notes invite responses. I wasn't interested in a response. I was in the kitchen making dinner when Dara came home at 6:22 p.m. She tried her key. It didn't work. She tried it again. Then she knocked. I opened the door. She looked at me. Then she looked past me at the bag stacked near the door. Then she looked at me again. She said, "What is this?" I said, "Your things." Act. There's a court order for exclusive occupancy. You've been served. The paperwork is in the top bag. She said, "Callum. What are you doing?" I said, 11 events. 4 months. Tuesday afternoons mostly. While I was at work. Her face changed. I said, "The bedroom camera. The one I installed 14 months ago when the Hendersons got broken into. Motion activated. Cloud storage. I watched all 11 on Thursday night on the couch. The couch you put me on for forgetting a dinner reservation." She said, "Callum, I can explain." I said, "The bags are packed. The order is in the top bag. You have 24 hours per the court order, but I'd prefer you took your things now." She said, "I'm pregnant." I want to describe this moment. The way she said it. Not as information. As leverage. As a card she was playing. The tone was not frightened or vulnerable. It was strategic. She said it the way she had said you don't understand what you actually did wrong. The way she had said it's not a real apology. A move in a negotiation she thought she was still running. I said, "Is it mine?" She didn't answer immediately. Which was its own answer. I said, "Adrienne Cole is my attorney. Direct all further communication to her." She said, "You can't just put me out. I'm pregnant." I said, "The court order is in the top bag. I'd suggest reading it before you tell me what I can and can't do." She stood in the doorway for a moment. Then she said, "Where am I supposed to go?" I said, "I'd suggest calling Soren." I closed the door. I heard her outside for a while. On the phone. I couldn't make out the words. I sat in the kitchen and finished my dinner. At 7:41 p.m. I heard her car start. At 7:43 p.m. she was gone. I washed my dishes. I went to bed. In my bed. For the first time in 8 nights. I slept 9 hours. Here is what came next. Dara called Adrienne's office 14 times in the first 48 hours. Adrienne's assistant logged every call. Dara's attorney, she retained someone named Gould, I found out through Adrienne, filed a motion to contest the exclusive occupancy order on grounds that she was pregnant and had nowhere to go. The motion was reviewed and denied. The court noted the documented misconduct and the valid deed clause. The occupancy order stood. Gould filed a second motion. This one argued that the deed clause was unconscionable and had not been properly explained to Dara at the time of signing. Adrienne responded with the original signing documents, notarized, with Dara's signature on the acknowledgement page confirming she had reviewed the terms with independent counsel. She had not reviewed it with independent counsel. She had signed the acknowledgement anyway because she trusted me the way I had trusted her. The irony was not lost on either of our attorneys. The second motion was denied in 11 days. Soren. She had called Soren from outside my door that first night. He did not immediately offer his apartment. I know this because Dara's mother called me 3 days after Dara left. She said, "Callum, I need to understand what happened." I said, "Your daughter can explain the video footage to you. There are 11 events over 4 months." She was quiet for a while. Then she said, "Where is she staying?" I said, "I don't know. You could try Soren." Dara's mother said, "Who is Soren?" I said, "My brother." Another silence. Then she said, Oh, Callum. I'm so sorry." She hung up. That was the last time Dara's mother called me. I heard through Adrienne that Dara's parents had driven up and taken her back to their home in another state for the first 2 months. Better than the street. Not by much, emotionally speaking, based on what Adrienne relayed. Soren texted me 2 weeks after everything. The lunch invitation text had never been addressed. He sent a new one. It said, "I think we should talk." I said, "Through Adrienne." He said, "Come on man, we're brothers." I said, "Send it to Adrienne." He said, "This isn't fair." I said, 11 events. Send it to Adrienne." He didn't send it to Adrienne. He showed up at my house. Rang the doorbell. I saw him on the front door camera, the one I had also replaced as part of the lock installation. I did not open the door. He rang for 4 minutes. I timed it. Then he left. Adrienne filed a no-contact order for the property. Standard procedure. Soren received service 2 days later. He texted me from a different number to tell me this was insane. I forwarded it to Adrienne and had the new number added to the order. The DNA question. Adrienne said we would need to establish paternity before the divorce was finalized. I said I understood. The process required waiting until the baby was born. I said fine. I am patient. I manage timelines professionally. I added it to the list of things that would resolve in sequence. The baby was born 4 months after Dara left. A boy. The DNA test was court-ordered as part of the divorce proceedings. Results confirmed 99.96% probability, the child was mine. I want to be clear about how I received this information. I sat with it for a day. Then I called Adrienne. I said, "What does this mean for support?" She laid out the numbers. Income-based calculation. Custody split to be negotiated. The support figure was $1,800 per month based on my salary and the 50-50 custody arrangement I had agreed to because despite everything the child had done nothing wrong and deserved a father who showed up. I said, "Fine." She said, "Callum. Are you sure you want 50-50 given everything?" I said, "The child is mine. I'll be there. Schedule it." 50-50 custody. $1,800 per month in support to cover additional expenses. Dara lives in a 2-bedroom apartment now, 40 minutes from the house. I know because I drop off and pick up on the schedule Adrienne negotiated. I am on time. Every time. I do not go inside. I do not make conversation beyond logistics. I do not ask about Soren. I do not ask about anything. My son's name is Max. He is 7 months old. He looks like me around the eyes. He sleeps well. He goes back and forth between 2 houses on a schedule and he doesn't know yet that the schedule exists because of 11 motion events over 4 months on a Tuesday afternoon bedroom camera that his mother forgot about. He will know someday. Children always know eventually. The house. The house is quiet in a way it wasn't before. I sleep in my bed every night. I make coffee in the morning. I confirm dinner reservations when I make them and when I forget and there is nobody to assign a consequence for it. There is no couch exile. There is no apology that isn't good enough. There is just the house and the coffee in the morning and the work I go to and the son I pick up on Thursdays. Soren's music production income last year was $11,000. Down from $14,000 the year before. He lost a studio booking client who found out the context of the situation through the no contact order filing, which is public record. He texted Adrienne's office once to complain that the public filing had damaged his professional reputation. Adrienne's assistant forwarded the message to me. I filed it. The $7,200 he owes me. Adrienne asked whether I wanted to pursue it. I said, "Is it worth my time?" She said, "Probably not, given his income." I said, "File it anyway. Not for the money. For the documentation." She filed it. A small claims action. He didn't contest it. Default judgment. $7,200 plus filing costs. He has not paid. He will not pay. But it is documented. It sits in a file the way everything sits in a file. Because I track things. It's what I do. Dara texted me once. 4 months after the divorce was finalized. The text said, "I know I can't undo this. I just want you to know I'm sorry. I know that doesn't fix anything." I read it twice. Then I forwarded it to Adrienne and said, "Log it." No response needed. Adrienne said, "You sure?" I said, "She spent 6 years telling me my apologies weren't good enough. She can understand what that feels like. I don't think of this as revenge. I want to be precise about that. I'm not a person who wants to watch people suffer. I am a person who manages systems. When a system fails at a critical point, you document the failure, you remove the compromised component, you rebuild with better materials, and you make sure the new structure is stronger than the one that failed. That's what I did. I removed the compromised components. I rebuilt. The structure is stronger. Max comes on Thursdays. He sleeps in the room I painted yellow because Adrienne's assistant mentioned once that yellow was good for infant stimulation and I had read 3 articles that supported this and painted it on a Saturday in November. He has a crib and a mobile and a drawer full of small socks that I fold because I fold things properly. Every Thursday I am at the door on time. Every support payment clears on the 1st of the month. Every co-parenting communication goes through the channel we established because that's the system and the system works. 7 nights on a couch for a dinner reservation. 11 events on a cloud storage camera over 4 months. New locks. 44 minutes. 3 doors. 1 night of solid sleep in my own bed after 8 nights on my own couch. That's the whole story. Everything after that is just maintenance. I manage systems. Some of them are supply chains. Some of them are families. When they fail, you document. You rebuild. You make sure the new structure holds. Mine holds.